Ashante, my little boo-boo patooties. Happy full moon in Taurus. So Taurus is our fixed earth sign. It is a feminine oriented sign, and this full moon is illuminating so much. We have this month of transformation of Scorpio that the sun's influence is filtering through. And then we have Taurus, who doesn't necessarily love transformation. They like comfort, they like the comfort zone. And so those two energies are coming head to head. And so what's happening is we're actually seeing all the ways that we are ready to pursue more beauty and security and love and safety within our lives, more abundance, more sustainability, more stability. And so we're feeling really fired up and gung-ho about taking action and making necessary changes. And you may have noticed that the past few days, you've had like a little extra bump of help from the universe to set your new habits in place. Like everybody that I've been talking to is like, oh, I've been getting up so early from daylight savings, and it's actually good because I wanted to, but I'm all tired. So it's like that's been happening to me as well. Even today, I was able to film our daily video before work, which if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's been a struggle to shift my day around and just kind of just reach for my depths for that kind of discipline. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling inspired. And so these there's a few aspects happening that are sort of contributing to that as well. So just in this day and the next day and the next couple of days, we have Mars entering Sagittarius. That happened yesterday, which gave us, I think, a lot of fire and energy and enthusiasm and hopefulness. And I think we all were feeling really excited and inspired watching all of the positive election results coming in. And I know I felt a lot more light today and a lot more like myself that I haven't really felt that way all year. You know, there's just been so much heaviness and like a dark cloud over this year that was the first moment that truly I felt the sun breaking through the collective clouds. So I'm loving that fiery, enthusiastic, go-getter energy, self-starter, but also like focused. Then we have Mars opposite Uranus. Well, Uranus is like sudden change and sudden shakeups. And so with Mars in the opposite of that, it's like a lot of energy that maybe not, it may be like cataclysmic. Like for instance, I remember one of the astrologers I follow pointing out, it was one of the Kabbalah Center astrologers, pointing out that the first week of November is not a good idea to do anything dangerous or take any risks because of the kind of combustible aspects of Mars and Uranus kind of opposing one another. Like think about a crate of TNT being left out in a really active lightning storm. And like you're like, I don't want the lightning to hit the crate of TNT, right? So too is that sort of energy over the next week or so. So be careful about that. And then we have Mars sextiling Pluto. Sextile, I always remember that one because it sounds like what it is, like sextile. And it means that it's like a harmonious aspect that's kind of giving you positive energy and like compatible energy between the two signs aspecting when they're in a sextile. So Mars sextiling Pluto Pluto is death, renewal, transformation. Uranus is change, but it's like sudden change, and it is like that Aquarian kind of change, a revolution of the mind, inventiveness, forward progress. Pluto is like the essence of death, rebirth, transformation, going into the underworld. It's like the act of baptism, right? When one is lowered into the water and brought back up a new creature, right? We're lowered into the abyss so that we can go into our unbecoming, so that we can be disassembled and recreated into a new creature when we rise up out of the water. So Mars sextiling Pluto, it's like putting our drive and our passion and our desire for change. And that's really what drives our growth and our connection to the Creator, right? It's really our desire that draws in the spirit to be near us. So that is exciting. And so that is on the 6th. So tomorrow, Mars is sextiling Pluto. So you might feel like after the last couple of days, the shift of energy, you might really start to feel determined and excited about changes and transformation, maybe things that you've been wanting to do for a long time. Let's see, what else do we have going on that's notable over the next few days? We've got Venus entering Scorpio. And so Taurus is ruled by Venus, right? And so it's like all that energy is coming together, right? They're ready for the meeting. So Venus entering Scorpio is asking us to reevaluate what do we love? What brings us love? What do we give love to? What is the status of our relationships, right? Where are we at with those? Are we giving enough to them? Are we receiving enough in return? How are we transforming our love lives? Venus also rules over money and security and how we make that money and how we achieve that security and that stability. So it's having us reassess and relook at these things. Right. And so there's sort of this juxtaposition of having the grace to find pleasure in simple, tangible pleasures like Taurus loves to do. So it's like, when people are like, oh, I get my joy from the simple little things in life rather than these big, grandiose mile marker moments that come and go, right? It's like if we can find true joy and magic in just our daily life and simple rituals, that really is the thing that gives us that fulfillment day in and day out. I mean, the deep fulfillment obviously comes from our relationship with the Creator, and then through that, our relationships with one another. But in a mundane sense, it's like not every day is a mile marker or, a big event. I always felt sorry for the girls who look forward, like almost like not they only look forward to like their big wedding day, and like that's like their whole life dream, and it's like the whole wedding. It's like most people don't even enjoy their wedding. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like having all this ride on like one day, it's like the pressure you put on prom, I don't know, I went to like 3 proms and not all of them were very fun, so it's that kind of thing. It's like finding that pleasure in the simple joys of life. One thing that I've been doing during the fall is making my own pumpkin spice in the coffee that I make every day, and that has been so much fun. And I learned it from like a post that I saw about this nun, Sister Hildegard. It was from the medieval ages in Europe. And she was like an herbalist and a healer, kind of a witchy woman type, if you will. But she would make these concoctions and potions, and this one particular mixture she would make for to lift the spirits and to bring joy and warmth into the soul and the spirit. And that was pumpkin spice. And that makes so much sense, because how happy and like crazy do people go for pumpkin spice every fall? We're like, it's back, you know? So I've been taking her recipe, equal parts nutmeg and cinnamon, and then getting my pestle and mortar out and like grinding and muddling down some clove and putting in clove into the grounds and letting the coffee pour through it. But that has been delicious. So it's like you don't have to go out to the store and buy the artificial flavored crap. It's easy ingredients. Just use cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, and that's it. So yeah, tiny things like that, you know, can bring you so much joy. My walks on my days off bring me so much joy. Getting to go on a good run and having fresh air, and clipping the last few little zinnias that are continuing to bloom. I mean, these small things bring me a lot of peace and a lot of joy and a lot of fulfillment. And I honestly can't say that I sit around thinking about, I don't know, material things that I don't have, you know, big achievements or milestones that I haven't met, because I'm just happy with my flowers and my coffee, you know. I do wish I could spend a few $1,000s on these beautiful ball gowns from Selkie. They're 1700 style. And I would wear them all the time. I would make use of them. But other than that, I'm pretty content. And it's like, so finding these simple pleasures and the tangible things that are, you know, available to us in our immediate surroundings, beautifying our surroundings, finding new ways to bring comfort and, you know, feelings of warmth and beauty in the house. This is holiday season. So instead of spending a lot of money this year, like we're all trying not to, instead, let's go back to making those memories, doing those little fun activities that, you know, that you remember the holidays for, right? Like maybe making some gingerbread cookie ornaments or something, you know, simple things like that. Or, you know, having a group of friends over to decorate your tree, you know, making the most of little moments over the holidays, but bringing back those like warm traditions where we do things together and we enjoy little things together. We make a thing of it, you know? So I think this is a good time to do that. With the Scorpio element, it's like we're accepting that there are depths and shadowy aspects of life, and there is a lot of mystery that we contend with and that we have to accept, but then we can explore. And, you know, life comes with change and transformation. And if we don't accept and embrace that change and transformation, that resistance is going to create suffering for us. And if we avoid change and transformation, then we're going to find that we go stagnant and we plateau. So, you know, kind of finding a levity and a grace in accepting both, you know, finding beauty and pleasure and joy in the simple things, and also being at peace with the fact that there also might be great mysteries and murky shadows that we're navigating at the same time through our transformative adventures. So we are having our Mercury stations retrograde on the 9th. Venus is squaring Pluto on the 7th. So, you know, as we move in Venus into our Scorpio, where we're like, okay, I am readying myself for change. It's like the star Venus is coming into her dressing room of life. And Scorpio, she's like, okay, Scorpio, I'm ready for my transformation. And so imagine that Scorpio is waving the wand of transformation and change. And what would you do? How would your life be different? How would you be different? And take it into the mundane details of the day-to-day, you know, and what would you change that would shift things a bit to bring more beauty and love and deepen your relationships, and stabilize your relationships, expand the abundance and prosperity within your money and your health and your resources, and how to make those more stable. So imagine, and so we're getting all enthusiastic and gung-ho about doing that, but then we have Venus squaring Pluto a few days later. So just like when we get all gung-ho and we're like, I'm gonna start a diet, I'm gonna go running every day, and when you haven't done that in a while, it's like you start and you're like, okay, I'm doing this for a couple of days, and then you're all excited, and then the bloom is off the rose, and you are craving, chocolate, and you are sore from running, and you don't want to go out. It's like you hit a wall. You've got the high of the starter energy, and then after a couple of days, like reality sets in, and you're like, oh, this isn't as glamorous anymore. So you're gonna feel a little bit of yourself resisting. It's also too, like when the ego suspects change, it's like, oh, okay, let's slow down. Everybody, let's not get too crazy. Rein it in. We're about to, like put our lives at stake here. So the ego is always afraid of being obliterated and annihilated. So the ego is going to push back, and it's going to want you to stay in your comfort zone, but we just have to keep on keeping on. Let's see. And then Jupiter also stations retrograde on the 11th. And so Jupiter is abundance and expansion and philosophy. And, with this Taurus full moon influence, with the Scorpio energy, it's like we're taking a minute to reconsider, okay, we're rethinking our mindset and our philosophy. We're looking again at our abundance and how we are handling our resources, how we're bringing resources in, and what we're doing with our resources. So it's like the ways that we are not tapping into the potential the way that we could. It's like, okay, where am I holding myself back? Where am I keeping myself stuck? Where am I keeping myself small? Where am I not expanding in my philosophy, and growing in the direction that I should be right now? It's like we're going back and reevaluating that. And then we have Mercury conjunct Mars on the 12th. And so I feel like that's also going to give us a little bit of rambunctiousness about how we are communicating. And maybe we're going to have a lot more courage to communicate in ways that we hadn't before. Maybe we had been silent. Maybe we'd been scared to chime in. Maybe we didn't know, what to say or how to say it or how to communicate a certain thing. Maybe we've been, just skittish about entering into the dialogue or into the zeitgeist or making our position or our beliefs known, right? Maybe it's part of the change in your love life and your relationships has to do with communicating with the people in your love life and your relationships. And I just noticed that one of my cards, it looks just like this girl that works with me at the restaurant, but she hasn't worked there in several months because she had another gig, but she came in and guest worked this week. And I was just noticing that. I was like, oh my God. I didn't realize that was like, hey, she's going to be at work this week. Anyway, back to the point. So we are more, I guess we're learning how, or we're getting more courage to speak up and honor our truth, but also do it in a way that is receptive to others and effective and respectful, and everybody is receptive and wins. It's not heavy-handed or steamrolling, because it's so hard not to, when issues are up in the air like they are this year, particularly recently, and the elections are going on, the government shut down, and it's like people are so fired up about the issues because they're being affected by things and they're worried about things. And so we find ourselves trying to educate maybe people around us about how things are affecting people. And it's a hairy situation to get into, because the one side might feel defensive, and the other side might feel passionate, and the other side might, be offensive because they feel defensive, and then that might make the other side feel like they're disenfranchised. And so we need to be careful not to let that Mars energy make the conversations that we're having combustible, right? So we need to be careful to be mindful about the way that we deliver our message, because I know for myself, I can be very direct and very blunt. And when people are coming to me for advice or spiritual wisdom or guidance, they want that. They want the straight shooter. They want the don't beat around the bush. They want the, what is it called? I can't remember. It's a Hollywood saying, but no, it's not going to come to me. But anyway, they want you to be a straight shooter, but at the same time, that doesn't always work in real one-on-one intimate exchanges that aren't that kind of like personal exchanges might be a different tone. Then they might need a little bit more finesse if you are also like me and you're a blunt person, which all of the Taurus energy and the Sagittarius energy in the air from these astrological aspects are going to bring out that bluntness, especially with Mars involved. So maybe try to soften your edges a little bit, or finesse your messaging or how you're delivering it. Not to be manipulative, and not to hide behind, not to shrink yourself or to hide what you really think, but to be able to deliver it in such a way that someone can hear it and be receptive to it. So I know it's not super easy for me to do that either. So I'm Godspeed. Cut to the chase. That's what I was trying to say. All right, well, let's see. We've got our straightforward oracle here that I forgot to shuffle before we started. So I'm gonna do that now while we're live, burning daylight. We'll just do this fast. It's okay because we can pull them at random. God will make sure we get the right cards anyway. All right, so I've only got a few more cards left to type into draft 2 of Straightforward Oracle, guys. So my goal is to self-publish this deck so that everyone else can have it too, because I've got to say, I've come to find this as just a standard clarification deck that can be paired with any oracle deck and any tarot deck, and you can use it with pretty much any spread. But I think that it is amazing and it's genius, and it's not me, it was channeled through, but I love this deck. It's become maybe one of my favorites I've ever used, so I can't wait for you guys to have it too. All right, so the first card out is going to represent us in the context of this moment. So with this moment being the next 2 weeks of the waning cycle, but also the next 6 months. Whenever we have like a lunation, it has like a 6-month bookended window. So right now, this is going to take us into the next 6 months. What are we seeing come into fruition now that we maybe planted seeds 6 months ago, right? So we plant seeds in our new moon, and then we harvest those seeds in our full moon. So 6 months ago, where are we now? We're in November. So maybe like in May, in the spring, what seeds were you planting then? What were you beginning? What inklings were coming to you then? In some way, that energy is coming to fruition. And in a way, we can reset those intentions. It's best to set intentions in the new moon, but I think that if you are having an ongoing thing that takes a long time and you're going through many moon cycles, then you can renew that in the full moon, and you can celebrate how far you've come, and you can recommit to continuing on. So our first card out is trust your gut. So over the next couple of weeks during the moon's waning phase, we need to trust our gut. We need to act on impulse and trust your instincts. How does this make you feel in your stomach? Do you have a compelling feeling? Learning to discern between truth and illusion. Work with your sacral chakra, the moon and water. What is your gut telling you? All right, trust your gut over the next couple of weeks. And maybe there was something that you had a hunch a few months ago, and you were like, you know what? I trust my gut. I'm gonna follow my gut in this direction. And maybe you've been doing that, and maybe that's good. Maybe this is reinforcing you and giving you the confirmation that over the last 6 months, you have been following your gut, and so continue to do that. So what's crossing us now is clear communication. Speak your truth. Speak clearly, say what you mean, double check communication, simple, clear message, speak your truth. So we have the Mercury retrograde coming up, and then we have, Mercury conjunct Mars, right? So we need to be clear about our communication. It's important that we speak our truth, but don't bulldoze, don't run roughshod over others, right? And then maybe, as far as when to communicate, trust your gut. Because I got into a situation the other day where my gut told me that I was going into maybe a highly combustible situation. And I was too tired to practice enough self-control in that situation to navigate it well. And it did not go well. So I would say just proceed gingerly. Let's just put it that way. But don't deny yourself. Be honest. Be authentic. Okay. So this next card is going to represent the subconscious influence over the situation. Pay attention to red flags. Okay. So we have learned to identify the red flags, right? And so there might be an element that is making us feel a little bit like our spidey senses are heightened. Maybe we're a little bit like looking over our shoulder. We're hyper aware. We're being a little bit vigilant. I think that it's good to pay attention to red flags, but be careful about projecting them or amplifying them too much either, right? We can hide behind defense mechanisms too, and they can look very healthy. We can call them boundaries, and we can, tell ourselves that we're seeing red flags or we're doing this and that. But sometimes that's just our ego protecting us from moving forward, right? Sometimes red flags are red flags, and sometimes we are hiding out and we're overprotective of ourselves, and we might be projecting red flags where there might not be. And so, or being extremely cautious because maybe we have painful memories in the past where we ignored red flags or we didn't spot them, and then life really came back to bite us in the butt because of it. And so maybe we're a little bit shook, right? And we have a little bit of a limp that we walk with now because of that. And so we want to be honest with ourselves and be real, but also it kind of takes some getting in there to see, to ask, to push back. Is this imagined fears, or is what I'm seeing real? And then I'm just going to say the writing is on the wall. Turn back now. This is the sign. Don't ignore this. You will regret it. Don't say we didn't warn you. Sometimes the evolved thing is to not put yourself in the situation with red flags. Your intuition is trying to protect you. Ignoring red flags damages the trust you are building in yourself. Ignoring red flags is a sign of low self-worth. So pay attention to them. But also it's really good to pay attention to how your subconscious is driving you so that we aren't on like an autopilot or a reflexive response system. Okay, and so the next card is going to represent the situation in the past that is, it's like a lesson that we've learned and we're almost out of the woods. It's still having some effect, but not for too much longer. So the relationship is worth working on and you veered off path. Okay, so I think that what this means with these together is that maybe there was something that, like a major tikkun relationship in your life. And what I mean by that is tikkun is our, like basically our soul's assignments for each lifetime. And there are certain people in those, in your tikkun, and some of them are meant to bring you great joy and expand your life. And some of them are meant to inflict the wounds and put the buttons there. And some of them are both, right? And so maybe there's a major relationship like with your mother or with your father, and that would really tie into the healing and the difficulties we have around security, right? And self-worth and love and money and all of that. It's all tied into our early childhood experience with our parents. So, the relationship that's been affecting you that's not going to have that effect on you so much anymore could have to do with the fact that you've been working on healing your relationship with one of your parents or both of your parents. I'm using the parents as an example because this does have major tie-ins with your kind of like your growth and also what like the kind of major things that you're attracting in, right? So if we have low self-worth that was damaged by an unhealthy relationship with our parents and we continue to like that, let that wound fester, it's going to plague us in our love relationships, in our friendships, in our work, in our relationship with our bosses, with our relationship to money, with our ability to attract money and opportunity in. And so I have a feeling that something has been like a lifelong theme and an issue for you. And you've become more aware of it and you've become more proactive about healing that. And for a long time, the cloud that has been hanging over your life, that has plagued you in love and money, that has held you back for maybe decades, right? And you're like, what is this? Why can't I ever move past this hump? Why can't I ever get past this state that I'm in? My relationships never get better than this, or my money never gets better than this, right? So there's some breakthrough that is possible right now that is going to change the trajectory of what you've experienced so far in your relationships with both your parents and with love and money. So maybe recently or at times you felt like you veered off path. Did you lose focus? Have you gotten sidetracked? Did you make a wrong turn? Where do things feel off, right? This relationship is worth working on, overcoming challenges, finding common ground, better together than apart. What if you thought of your problems as assignments? The same problem would be waiting for you in the next relationship. There is true love here. Value your bond, grow together. So I think what's happened is that maybe there's a relationship that you've been working on and maybe recently you hit a snafu. And maybe you thought, oh my gosh, all the work that I've been done has just gone out the window. I totally ruined it, right? And that's not the case, right? It's like the masculine Satan sets the initial trap for you to do the boo-boo, for you to have the mess up. But the feminine Satan comes in to try to get extra light from you and take extra points away. by making you feel like shit and giving you a sense of despair and making you feel like that it's too far gone, that there's no hope, nothing can be changed, nothing can be fixed, right? So the key is that the test isn't necessarily over right after the inciting incident, right? The inciting incident happened and you didn't handle it well. And so then you feel like, oh no, I failed the test. I'm going to have to go through this whole experience again. But that's not the case. Don't give up yet because you're still in the process. So you can stop and say, okay, let me re-examine the situation that played out. How could I have been different in the situation, right? It doesn't matter if you were right and they were wrong, because even still, the Creator is always offering us a chance to change ourselves. Even if the other person is despicable and they need to change, or if they're way off base or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's always something that you can do different in a situation, and to have brought different energy, and or to have revealed your consciousness in an even greater way in that situation. So our assignment is always to take the situation we're in and ask, okay, if the Creator was sending me a message right now, if I'm really honest with myself, what does my gut initially tell me that is? And what does that have to do with? And how can I work on that? How can I make an effort to make change? And instead of letting it fester, and instead of letting more space form between you and the other person, it's like start trying to shorten the gap again, and try to repair and try to make an effort, right? So it's like, if we can be human beings and repair relationships after they've been damaged, then certainly God is capable of allowing you to repair, right? God is available to repair. Okay. What is crowning us now? So this has potential to come into being. Ooh, irrational fears and parties over. So I feel like we have this cloud that's been hanging over us, and we feel like, oh, the best part is over. You know, it's just downhill from here. And so we have these irrational fears building up. And it's feeding into this poltergeist that's creating a despair and a depression that is watering down our motivation. And so whenever we are on the precipice of a huge breakthrough or a huge success or revealing a huge amount of light, the opponent wants to come in and steal that light to make you give up and to thwart your efforts. And so what is going to happen is that you're going to recognize that irrational fear and that sort of like foreboding sense is almost like a good sign. It means that you're close to a big breakthrough, and that right now the opponent sees that you're surrounded by this light coming in of potential that's going to be created into something beautiful, and the opponent wants to take that. So do not see your sudden, feelings of anxiety as a negative sign to deter you, but just realize it for what it is, and realize that these are irrational fears. This doesn't say a rational fear that you should be worried about. This is an irrational fear. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Your mind is playing tricks on you, and your emotions are magnifying the situation. This is false evidence appearing real. Disembodied anxiety, memories in your nervous system, discomfort with the unknown, stretching beyond your comfort zone. Now, these are things that are difficult for Taurus too. So when we have a lunation, a new moon or a full moon, we are influenced by the sign that lunation is in. And so we are all, regardless of our own astrological makeup, we're all affected by the influence of Taurus. And so it means that we're going to have the accentuated qualities of Taurus and their strengths, but we're also going to be struggling with Taurus's weaknesses and their shortcomings. And so it's hard for Taurus to take a risk. It's hard for Taurus to get out of their comfort zone. They like, feeling comfortable and stable. right? And so right now it might be that Tauran energy in us that is having this irrational fear that comes when we are beginning to grow and expand and do new things, right? But everything is fine. And then we might feel like, okay, for instance, good old fashioned, old timey Republicans and mostly MAGA, and then even like old fashioned establishment Democrats, people who are trying to hang on to their every dime and not share with anybody. The Democrat sweep last night is probably making them feel like party's over. Our reign of fascism has come to an end. Oh my God, we can't be shitty anymore. Nobody likes us. Nobody loves our shittiness. Nobody loves it when we torture and hurt them. This is so unfair. I'm going to move away from New York. I'm not going to be able to I don't know, wipe my ass with $1,000 bills anymore. I'm going to have to pay more taxes. I can't hike up the rent. So yes, maybe there are some groups that feel like party's over, but it's not. This is just the beginning, right? So yes, when Mom Donnie won, there was like a clip, it was like a montage of all of the conservative news networks just going apeshit and talking about how people are officially scared and depressed. It's like, yes, corruption party is over. And this is good too for us because we're all going into holiday season. So if, every year we work hard all summer to get that beach bod, and then come holiday season, we throw it all away and we eat soups and breads and desserts and we get all fat and sassy, as that one lady says. But yes, so watch your money, watch your belt buckles, watch your calories, watch your sugar intake. Party's over. It can be a good thing. It can be more disciplined because you know what Taurus likes to do is overindulge as well. So we need to be able to find the pleasure in life and suck the bone marrow out of those little things. But then as we are more sated by doing that, we're going to feel less needy to have a big blowout or to overindulge, right? Giving yourself small indulgences prevents that, the binge, the overdoing it. So in a way, we do need to embrace this more discipline. So watch out for overindulgence. Maybe a good time for detoxing. Time to buckle down. Balance is needed. Sober up. Needs a sense of purpose. Honeymoon's over, time to get to work. So we can still make the most of the rest of this year. I think that we can achieve some things without burning ourselves out. I think we can have a good time and see people and visit and do lots of things without breaking the bank, without breaking our pants. We're gonna have a good time, but we're gonna do it in moderation. All right, so the next card represents our perspective that is affecting us right now. And many times this has an aspect of it that's like, this is a kind of a negative perspective that's affecting us. And when a positive card comes up in this position, sometimes it denotes that we can have a hard time believing that these good things are coming or that these good things are possible. So in this position, we have an emotional issue to overcome. So whatever it is that's affecting our perspective right now and that's affecting our ability to perform and to show up in life, it's related to an emotional issue. It's not a spiritual issue. It's not a soul issue. It's not a physical issue. It is an emotional issue to overcome. So this is about practicing self-control with our emotions, being comfortable with feeling and working with our emotions and facing our emotions, and digesting our emotions and feeling our emotions, but not letting the emotions control us and control our every move or our decisions or our behavior necessarily. So your emotions are in control and they need to be balanced with dispassionate practicality. Listening to your emotions is not the same as listening to your heart. Your emotions are mutable. Like water, this will pass. Get regular exercise and do other things that naturally stimulate your mood, and you might feel differently. An emotional wound or expectation is having too much influence over the situation, and it's not healthy and will cause issues. You can even listen to your emotions without acting on them. Oh no, okay. We skipped a position. So we're going to go back. So what's coming up right around the corner? I saw the focus on gratitude card, but it didn't reveal itself. Rest in certainty. So coming up around the corner, we need to declare our gratitude, practice gratitude, but the more we sit in that appreciation, the more we rest in peace. When we see everything around us that we have and we can feel true appreciation for it, we feel at peace, we feel at rest. We don't feel threatened, we don't feel longing, we don't feel ennui. So rest in certainty. Certainty is the knowledge that whatever the situation you find yourself in, the Creator is with you. And that if you focus on having faith in that faith activates the light of the Creator in that situation and can turn the circumstances around. But in the meantime, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how the situation is going to unfold. We don't have any guarantees, but we are certain that the Creator has a purpose for each thing that we go through, and that we can use it in a purposeful way, or we can show up to it and meet it in a purposeful way. So loosen your grip. Control is an illusion. Repelling, polarity. What you are trying to control is also controlling you. Trust, surrender. The universe could have something better. You are standing in your own way. Control is neither vulnerable nor authentic. All right, so giving up control and having certainty in the Creator to move through the situation. Okay, the outer influence on us, the material world's influence, the other people's influence over us in the situation, is that this is a dead end. So futile attempts, fruitless efforts, just passing through, a temporary experience, nothing significant will grow of this. Now, back to the relationship that we were talking about before, that you veered off path, that this is a relationship worth working on. Maybe it's about radically accepting the person or the situation for what it is. And maybe we thought the assignment was that we had to change the situation or be an influence that changes the person somehow, or through our change that they will eventually change too. But a lot of times what happens is that even though we go through the metamorphosis and we learn to change, sometimes they never change. And so even though you've done the work and you keep trying to show up to the situation different, maybe you keep getting dragged into the same argument every time. And you're like, man, I keep putting in all this work, but this still keeps playing out every time. And it's like maybe something that they're doing too, or the way that they are, that just isn't changing. And so the key here is to understand that what the situation may not change and they might not change, but the way that you respond to the situation is what is changing. And that you have changed and that you have gone through the transformation. And so that's enough, and to just work on your side of the street. It's the only thing you can control. You can't control them. You can't control the outcome. You can't control the circumstances, right? But what you can control is the way that you show up in the circumstances, the way that you meet them, and the way that you perceive them. And so maybe you have been getting more and more frustrated because you keep trying to illuminate something for someone or help them see something a certain way and they're just not getting it, or they're not changing, or maybe it's a difficult relationship with a parent and it just, you want it to be better and you want it to be different, but it's just not going to. And so there's something about like not feeling like a failure because your attempts to change them are futile. It's not going to happen. And so having radical acceptance of the other party, the way that they are, and just accepting that, and accepting that you are only in charge and responsible for your own transformation and change. And just to worry about that and do your best there, and don't be so hard on yourself, and don't carry the burden of the responsibility of the weight of the entire world, right? Just do the best you can to be the best you in the situation, and to bring the best energy that you can to the situation for the sake of the Creator, as an ambassador of the Creator, as a vessel of the Creator's light, and just do your best to give. If you find yourself getting more and more increasingly frustrated that they aren't budging and that they're always going to be doing the same pattern, that's going to cause more tension, right? And more possibility for combativeness and combustibility, right? So, you know, we were talking about it recently. It's like pain is unavoidable in life. And many times pain is the very thing that helps us evolve. But suffering is a choice at many times, because it happens when we can't let go of something, or we refuse to let go of something, or practice radical acceptance and find the grace in that. You know, it's like sometimes the situation is what it is. And it's like you can wrestle with it all you want and say, this sucks, I wish it wasn't happening, this sucks that this is happening. And it's like you're fighting that the situation is there, but you can't fight that. It's there. So it's usually, it is what it is, and we're dealing with it now. We're solution oriented. All right, now the next card will represent our hopes and fears, which are inextricably linked. Stop ruminating. I love this card for that position. So I am a ruminator. I do this. I'm a maladaptive imaginer. Maybe I'm not to the degree of maladaptive imagination, but I do get lost in my thoughts. I dress rehearse tragedy. I rehearse arguments that never happen. I do less of that these days than I used to, but we're all guilty of it, right? And so we sit here and we ruminate on our dreams and we hope that they're going to happen. And meanwhile, daylight is burning and we need to be doing our dreams. And then we ruminate on what if our dreams don't happen? And then we're burning daylight ruminating on if our dreams aren't going to happen. And we're spinning our wheels and we're doing anything but our dreams, right? Ruminating about, say, an individual that we've started dating, it's unhealthy, because then you're getting so emotionally and mentally invested in something that is essentially just spun up fantasy. Well, we need to keep our feet on the ground and really base forward progress on what is occurring in the material world, right? Not just in our imagination, right? Or up in the 5D. We need to see what's happening in the concrete realm, right? So there's no reason to obsess or ruminate, because you're just kind of wasting your time in a mental trap that you've set yourself. So many times this is a low-level trauma response, right? When we get triggered and, our nervous system has deep-rooted memories from the past, deep-rooted memories of trauma, and that trauma gets triggered. We might have dealt with it enough to be functional in life, where we don't get thrown into like a depressive, episode. And so we think we're all right. We're like, I'm coping, I'm making it, I'm fine. But what we don't realize is that sometimes when we get triggered, we fall into a low-level trauma response. And it's this behavior that's very subtle, and we don't notice it. And it can actually hold us back in so many ways. whether that be, you know, a dysregulated nervous system that's making us short and anxious and, you know, maybe seemingly combative to others when we don't mean to be that way. We don't mean to present that way. It can cause us to have chaotic energy and make mistakes. It can cause us to, you know, get lost in daydreaming and thinking and obsessing about something. And that it can be a form of fawning, or it can be a form of freezing, right? I know that for me, one of the things that has probably held me back the most in life are the times where I'm trying to sit and do work, but it's like something keeps taking my mind off of what I'm doing and getting obsessed over something in my thoughts. And then I'm like, oh, how long have I been sitting here, you know, ruminating on something, or going into a rabbit hole trying to over research something and over preparing, and then it's like you're not pushing the needle forward. So be careful about ruminating, because that could be the thing that's like giving you that self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, oh, I'm so afraid that my dreams aren't going to come true, that I'm sitting here thinking about it, and my dreams aren't coming true because I'm not making them come true, because I'm thinking about how afraid I am that they're not going to come true. So we need to watch out for that. Again, stop obsessing. There's a couple of cards in the deck that I wrote twice. They have different content on them, but they were called the same thing. So I wrote these over a time and a period of time, and there's like over 120 cards. So some of the ones that were doubles, I went back and renamed them and changed them just a little bit. And it's funny that those two came out together, or at least the stop obsessing was on top, while don't ruminate was on the bottom that we picked out. Okay, and so the last card for our probable outcome is it's time to party. So kick up your heels. It's time to celebrate. Life is getting too serious. We need to lighten up, go play, have some fun. All work and no play. Shake things up. Live a little. Don't be the Debbie Downer. So I think that what's happening is that, yes, this has been a very intense and stressful year. There's been a lot of change and upheaval, and it's been really hard to find our center and be grounded and to find our creative spark amidst all of these intense things that are going on around the world right now. But I think we're finding a way to get our feet on solid ground again, so that we can get back to doing our purpose and living with purpose, and doing it in a more conscious way than we have before. But we're now ready to start moving forward. And so it's time to party. It's time to get to work on the things that you want to create, make the most of the rest of the year. Get out and have a good time. Enjoy life, because life is short and we can't spend our entire life in dread and despair. Okay. Let's grab a few cards to sort of synopsize our reading. Let's see. This one's standing out. Ooh, Hanged Man. Okay, or the Hanged One. So this is a seeming pause in activity, but there is more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. This card is sort of like signaling a bit of a time out to allow us to process and reintegrate and to see things differently. So this is giving us a moment to take into account what our recent experiences and shift our consciousness. And so as we do that, then we are moving forward in a new direction and creating from a better seed level, right? And we're moving into this next year has we've been talking about how it has the numerical value of the word judgment. When you look at the Hebrew year and the numerology of the Hebrew year, the Tikkun Olam correction year. But if you look at the Gregorian calendar year, the number, that numerology this year is a 1. And so there are so many cycles, like huge major astrological cycles starting in 2026, that there's so much seed planting energy. There's so much starter energy. So it's important that we get our consciousness straight before we start planting seeds that are going to shape the next cycle of our life, right? Some of these cycles are like 300 years long. So this is energy that doesn't come back again. In February, there is a conjunction between Neptune and Saturn, and it's at 0 degrees of Aries. And this is like, put your rubber to the road, get your ass in gear. You've got to pull your dreams out of the imaginal realm and make them a reality. You've got to take action. You've got to get the discipline in check to make this happen. And so that is happening at 0 degrees of Aries, the beginning of the beginning of the beginning, the catalytic cardinal energy of that divine spark. So we don't want to waste that. And so what do we know? We know that our consciousness, the quality of our consciousness, is the seed that we plant when we take those actions. So this moment that we have to sit here and hang out for a minute is so that we can cultivate our consciousness to be what we need it and want it to be to start that new cycle off right. Oh, we have 5 of Swords reversed. So I love this. This is like the conflict is resolving, right? We're seeing how, even we have been so determined to get what we want at times that we've been inconsiderate of others, or we've rode roughshod over others, or we haven't taken into account how what we're doing might affect others. And so I think we're starting to sense now that the collective is starting to understand that the more integrated and inclusive we are, and the more that we think about each other, and the more that we think about things in terms of how can we share, how can we give, how can we spread this love, this talent, this gift out into the world, rather than what can the world give to me, the more focused and oriented we are of receiving the light for the sake of sharing, rather than just receiving for the self alone. This is what is moving us forward. This is what's giving us momentum. I mean, look at the difference between Zoran Mamdani's campaign and Andrew Cuomo. Zoran Mamdani wants to give everyone a chance to have their basic needs met and to be able to have a livable life in the city that they live in, and to be able to have an option for free public transportation, have affordable child care, have groceries available for anyone who needs them, right? And so that's about receiving. His win was not about his glorification. It was about, how can I change life for working people, right? How can I heal the world of their Islamophobia? How can I obliterate Islamophobia in particularly the United States, and particularly New York City, right? So his campaign, and so many of the other Democratic campaigns that won last night, were centered around, how can we make life better for the working family? How can we spread our resources? How can we share our resources? How can we give to each other and be inclusive and make sure that no one's left out? How can we feed children at school, right? And Andrew Cuomo's campaign was, if you don't vote for me, Donald Trump is going to attack you with the military, with the National Guard. Right? He is, the archetype of the person who wants to receive for the self alone. And the only people that were interested in voting for him were billionaires and people who own the apartment buildings in New York, who want to price gouge and take advantage and exploit, right? And so a landslide victory for looking out for each other, and a landslide rebuke of taking for me and me alone. Oh, speaking of that taking for me alone. This is going by the wayside. This Seven of Swords, lying, cheating, manipulative, stealing, corruption, we can see it for what it is. And the Taurus full moon is shining its bright light on all of this. We see it clearly now, and we're not going along with it, and we're not falling for it. You know, the Republican Party is turning against the MAGA movement. And so they've seen that all of the promises that they were given were nothing but lies, right? And yeah, maybe a lot of people knew those were lies going in, but the people who are figuring it out now, welcome. You're not too late, okay? So being eyes wide open, seeing dishonesty, seeing corruption for what it is, and we're seeing that we don't want any part in that. And so as, you know, mystics, it is our duty to search for ourselves inside. Where in me do I have any shred of this? Looking for that, seeking it out so that we can shine that light on it and change it once and for all. All right. And, ooh, Six of Swords. I love this for that final card in that set. So we are moving on to brighter days and calmer waters and more peaceful shores. This is victorious. This is being on the other side of the storm, on the other side of the battle. This person is helping her friend here escape from a difficult situation and get to something better, get to safety, get to a new life, right? This often reminds me of, like, say, a character like a woman who is fleeing a domestic problem, domestic violence, or a terrible living situation, right? But this person here who's been through something, they look like they've been through a struggle, they're downtrodden. They represent all of us that have been feeling that way in this world system that we've been set up in, and it is shoddy, and it is not what they said it was going to be. Where are my free drugs? They said they'd be giving out free drugs. I'm pissed. No one put any free drugs in my Halloween candy. So yeah, so we are moving forward into a new era. And this era, we are helping one another, and we are moving forward into brighter days, into days of more security and more stability. And that's because we have a death and rebirth in the heart, in the collective heart. And we don't have a heart to see people struggle and suffer anymore. And we don't want to be a part of it. And that time, it's this dark shadow that's going to be a distant memory eventually. And so we're moving forward into a time of harmony and unity and cooperation and shared resources. I love it. Caring about one another, sharing, coming together. Hatred is over. Okay, let's grab, know what, before we do that, I always start to jump ahead. Let's grab a Moonology card for this next couple of weeks. What do we need to know for this waning cycle, or how do we need to focus our energy? Nothing will come of the situation, void of course. So I feel like these worries that we've had, that we've been so scared of, like, these nightmares coming true, and I think that it's not going to happen, or like maybe there's some dead end that we keep trying to push, or something that's trying to end in our lives, and we're ready for a new chapter. And so it's about identifying those things that are ready to be let go of, so that we can start this new beginning without dragging the dead bodies in with us that aren't going to do anything. They're not going to bring anything new. They're not going to grow any more than they are, right? I have accepted that this channel is probably not going to suddenly go viral, right? But I can start a new platform and have a new approach that complements this channel, and that could reach more people, and that could be more effective, right? So I feel like it's just finding those things in your situation. What's void of course now? What has no more to really yield? And how can we redirect our time and energy and resources towards something in a new way that will yield more fruit and will take us into the direction that we want to go in? So I think that many of our fears that we've maybe been obsessing about, it's like, don't worry, that it's not going to happen. I think that we always need to be able to be, do our due diligence and be responsible, cover our bases. But overall, maybe you've been having catastrophic imaginings that are baseless, hopefully. Or at least they might look in a way like there's a strong probability of this threat because we live in the world that we do, but maybe the universe is telling you like this is not a concern that you're going to have to personally deal with. All right, and we've got Page of Pentacles coming out to let us know that we are the enthusiastic student, that we're getting into the research, but we don't want to get stuck there forever. Scholarly, cheerful, dependable, mischievous, me. Time to get to work. An excellent opportunity presents itself. Happy news about your career, promotions, or scholarships, a new area of study. Ooh, okay, so this, even with my other platform that I've been working on and kind of strategizing and working up to, it does take study. I mean, part of the platform itself, it revolves around study. And so it's like, I love this card. It's like, maybe, yes, at the current trajectory, I have gone as far as I can with what I'm doing, the way that I'm doing it. But there are new levels to unlock and get into. Maybe that's true for you. Maybe you have a new area of study. Or maybe, getting into this next level of what you're doing, there's more research to be done. Either way, I think that there's a part of us that's like really excited to get in there and learn and improve and do new things. And maybe we've been kind of in a slump for the last several months, and it's been hard to focus, and it's been kind of hard to be motivated because in a way we've been like, is it the end of the world? Is there anything left? Like, what's the point? I'm just gonna blow it all on ball gowns. Maybe I'll go to the ball in the White House. Yeah, right. Right. So yeah. So instead of going off on that like downward spiral of lunacy, it's like, no, we are gonna survive. Look at all the great change that happened last night, and the shift that is happening in the zeitgeist and the collective awakening that is happening. And so it makes me even more excited to get back at it and be like, you know what? Yes, the time is now. Like, people need encouragement, and we need, positive, direction, and we need positive, good, healthy spirituality out there, and not, these toxic ways of approaching it, religion and spirituality. We need some reformation there. So it's time to get to work. All right, y'all, let's look into our manifestations over the next couple of weeks. How do we need to approach our goals? I feel like that was really calling to me. Ooh, divine magic. Extra magical energy surrounds your situation right now. Expect miracles. You guys, this was the card that came out on one of the cards that came out on Tuesday. Expect miracles. So I would have been, I don't know what I expected out of the election. I definitely thought that Zoran was going to win, but I didn't think that we would sweep the entire like the whole thing, in every state for everything, like even down to like the school board elections. It was like, we are not fucking around. People are getting fed. So I love it. Miracles are in the air right now. And I think it's because people are so unified around the right reasons and the right things right now. So there's extra magical energy in the air. The aspects and the planets and the lunations, they channel energy through like antennas, right? The power isn't coming from the planets, the power is coming from the creator. But the planets are like satellites and antennas, and they do their thing, and they have these little aspects that they do, almost like Rube Goldberg machines to get the ball rolling. But this Taurus full moon, combined with the transformation that we're going through in Scorpio, is kicking up all of this manifestation light and juice that we can work with, right? It's like this raw material, raw element. When we change, when we sacrifice the ego, it like releases these sparks of light that then are directed into what we want to create, right? So set your intentions with intention. Be intentional with your intentions right now. All right, let's grab a couple more. Synchronicity. Okay, watch out for the synchronicities. Your prayers and questions are being answered by synchronistic events. Notice them in order to increase their flow. So notice the things around you. The universe is sending you a sign or a message. And just keep an eye out if you keep having the same kind of thing that keeps coming up in a repetitive way. And there's a reason for it. Treasure chest. I'm excited. A windfall. An unforeseen windfall of new abundance is coming to you now. Love it. I'm your Venus. I'm your desire. All right. Ooh, what is this? What is this? Helpful person. Okay, this had come up recently. Simplify your life. So part of Scorpio is cutting out what is not serving you, what is old, getting rid of the carcass. Helpful person came out recently. So again, open your eyes, open your ears, open your heart. Pay attention to who's around you and what they're good at and what they know about. Be excited about, the things that you are into and what you're working on. And as you share this with others, they might have insight to lend to you that have to do with your endeavors, right? It's, we've had some messages recently where we need to do a little more research or we need to consult an expert. So there might be a friend in your midst or somebody that you're acquainted with or that you know that actually has some helpful advice or maybe some resources, or they can point you in the right direction that you need. So helpful person has come up. And in general, it might be good for you to just allow people to help you. Sometimes it can be scary to receive, and for someone who doesn't have that fear, you might be like, why is it scary to receive? Because sometimes people hold things over you, and sometimes they use the things that they give you as a means to control or to manipulate or guilt, right? Maybe there's strings attached, right? Maybe there are consequences for receiving. And so, it sometimes it's a fearful thing to let anyone help you or to let anyone give to you. Maybe you have had a person in the past that made you feel like you were too much effort or whatever, and it wasn't worth it. And so now you don't want to cause any trouble because you're afraid that if you require too much effort from anyone, that you'll be rejected. Right? And so part of healing that and recovering from that belief and that wound and those experiences is allowing people to help you, allowing people to support you. And what you'll find is that instead of them feeling annoyed by it, when they're giving from their heart, it actually creates a bond, and it creates the person values you more because they invested into you, even if that's just a little bit of energy and time. All right, so our love lives. What do we need to know about our love lives? Career and finance just came up, so very Venus right there. Love and money are connected. They're both ruled by Venus. It's not to say one is dependent on the other. It's just saying that your wounds affect both love and money in the same way. It's mirrored in your love and money situation. So if you say don't value yourself enough, you won't find jobs that value you either, and you'll attract relationships that won't value you very much. And so if you start working on yourself within relationships and demanding better treatment and setting boundaries and sticking with your boundaries and surrounding yourself by people that do value you, and so that you do start acting more in your worth, then that's going to have a positive effect in your money life. If you start to treat yourself with more respect in your career and in your finances, and you start respecting your money more, you start saving, you start strategizing how you're going to build your money, how you're going to tithe your money, how you're going to keep showing up for your dreams consistently and not sporadically. Like when you start putting your money where your mouth is in your career and your finance, and you start to show yourself that respect, and you start to value yourself that way, then other people also value you, and they show up and they're consistent with you. But if you find that you have inconsistent people around you, that they aren't really committed, look in your life to see where you've been inconsistent with your own self and where you haven't been committed to your own desires, your own needs, and your own goals. Okay, playfulness. So get out there, be a sprightly little person. That is very attractive. People love funny people who laugh easily. And, being just a playful person in general, it's like you can be playful with people, and then maybe your crush is over in the corner seeing how playful you are, and it's making them like you even more, right? So maybe you're not even necessarily being playful with them, but your playfulness is attractive. Maybe there's someone that it's like, maybe you don't want to put yourself out there and boldly flirt with them, but you can horse around with them and play with them a little bit, maybe troll them a little bit even, in cute little ways. But be playful, loosen up. To recapture romance, allow your inner youthful spirit to shine. Awesome. So be playful, focus on working on your money, healing your money. Okay, the situation is sort of like coming together, and it's not say presented to you just yet, but it is worth waiting for. So this might be a situation that's on the horizon that you just don't see yet. Maybe you're feeling like you want to find someone, and you're like, oh, am I ever going to find this person? Maybe the person, the qualities that I want, or the equal that I'm looking for, maybe they don't exist, so maybe I should just settle for less. And it's like, no, don't do it. I've tried to settle for less before, and I was very grateful and very appreciative of my quote unquote less. And that less being that this person didn't feel like a soulmate. They didn't necessarily feel like my spiritual equal, but they had good qualities, and we got along great for a while. And so I was settling for that because it wasn't fully what my true partner, would really be. And honestly, that person ended up resenting me for it in the end, because they felt like they were wrong for me too. And they were like, why are you accepting me? Like, why aren't you accepting more for yourself? And so it's like, even when you try to settle for the person that's not quite for you, and you're like, I'll make the best of it, it's like they're going to end up resenting you in the end anyway. You're going to hate yourself even more because you're like, why did I do this? I could have just waited for the real deal, right? Or something that was, worth waiting for, right? And I feel the same. It's like, at this point in my life, I don't want to throw the towel in and give up and end up with not a hell yes. Like, it's worth waiting for. I'm glad that even still I'm not married, but I'm glad that I didn't marry the wrong person and get, stuck in the wrong relationship that made me unhappy for years and years and years. I don't know if I would have had the courage or the conviction to get divorced, right? What if I would have let religious programming cause me to stay stuck in a situation that basically dimmed my light for the duration of it, right? So honestly, like, unless a relationship is truly worth having, it can kind of make you miserable if it's not the right one. Because the person that you choose to be with, they're either going to uplift you and help propel each other forward, or they're going to drag you down and make your life miserable. And sometimes they'll even try to sabotage you out of like little, malicious ways. People are weird, and the way that they are and the way that they try to control you can be really weird. And if you don't have someone that believes in you and that loves what you're all about and that's like cheering for you and on your side, you don't have the energy. Nobody has time for that. Like, if somebody's not improving my life at this point, I'm stable on my own. Currently, God willing, right? And so I want someone to come in. I want that partner, but unless it's the right person, I am content waiting. All right, and our last card, passion. Ooh, looks like this will be worth waiting for. Hey, baby. Would you like a Mentos fresh breath mint? Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. I love this. So being playful, showing your passionate lust for life, and all the ways that are about you are full of life. Be passionate about life and be really into the things you're into, and that's going to send out a very vivid signal to the universe. Okay, match my signal. All right, this is me. This is the radio station I'm dialed into. Send me the person that matches my frequency. Right? The more passionate we are, the more magnetic we are, right? The deeper and more poignant our desire, the louder our magnet is to draw in that desire. It's like desire is the catalytic driving force of the universe. If we don't desire something, we don't move to go for it, right? If something doesn't desire, it doesn't make an effort. Desire is everything. We cannot draw close to the Creator without the desire. The desire creates the motivation in us to do the work to make ourselves more like the Creator. Otherwise, it's too much effort. It's too much chaos, too much pain, too many lessons, too many tests, right? You have to really desire it or else it won't happen. Anything you desire. If you want a snack, you got to desire it enough to get up and go get it. Have you ever been in a situation where you have nothing to eat in the house and you're like, oh, I really don't want to go to the store right now. And so you're just eating like whatever is around, but you just don't have enough of desire to go out and make the effort, right? And so then what do you get? You get lackluster, right? But you get a craving for something and you're like, man, this won't let go of me. I really want this. I'm going to make spaghetti from scratch this week. Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to put a little sugar in my sauce. It's going to be nice and tomatoey, but also with meat. It's going to be saucy and meaty. That sounds good. So then your desire, you start to crave the spaghetti and you're willing to do the work to make it from scratch because it's going to be so good. It's nothing like no jarred sauce compares to a homemade sauce. You can not even be a very good cook. Spaghetti is easy to make. A bolognese sauce. Easy peasy. But you just have to desire it enough to want to do the chopping, to want to go out and get the ingredients, and want to make it good, right? It takes desire. All right, let's get a little piece of advice from Mother Mary, Jesus's mom. What does she have to tell us over the next couple of weeks? Ooh, inner child. It's our inner child that wants to overindulge. It's the inner child that doesn't want the discipline. It's the inner child that wants to escape and numb out. It's the inner child that wants, to get lost in fun activities, all play and no work, right? And so when we have a wounded inner child, our inner child is in the driver's seat, and it is making our life's decisions, and it's probably wreaking havoc on our life. Because what do we see about households that like the child's in charge? The child has no structure. The parents are exhausted. The child has become spoiled. The whole relationship and dynamic in the house is like upside down and inside out. The parents aren't attracted to one another anymore because they've lost all respect, because they've seen the child walk all over each other, and then they're just like dogs tail tucked between their legs, and the child is in charge. We've all seen this. We've also have this brow-beaten shame. But the inner child acts like that when we let it take control. And so what we need is to heal and reintegrate the inner child, so that that's part of our aspect of being, and we can tap into that childlike whimsy and joy, but we can also take care of business and make sure that we maintain stability, and we floss our teeth twice a day. We brush our teeth twice a day, and we get everything done. We take good care of ourselves, right? So we when we have a wounded inner child, we slack off on our adult responsibilities, because we have this like sort of subtle rebellion against it, and we're trying to fight it, and we don't want to do even the things that we want for ourselves. And sometimes that can give us a fear of success, because then we're like, well, if I have all this success, then I'm going to have all this responsibility, and I'm going to be completely bogged down, and I'm going to lose my inner child. I'm not going to have any fun anymore. So I nurture the child within me through playfulness and self-care. When the inner child is nurtured and given structure, but also playtime, then the inner child feels good. A child wants a strong adult presence in their life to give them a sense of stability. The child wants to feel like the parent is in charge, right? These parents, they think they're doing the right by spoiling their kids, but the child doesn't feel secure when the child is in control and in the driver's seat. Of course, this child is going to push the limits to see how far they can get and what they can get away with. But ultimately, it's not truly what they want. It's just what their child ego wants that's not developed and doesn't know what's best for the child, right? But on the inside, the child might be getting what they want on the surface, but they feel very insecure, because they're like, why am I in charge here? Why aren't they setting boundaries? Why aren't they pushing back? Like, I want to know that an adult's in charge. If I'm in charge, then am I in charge of figuring out what's going to happen with the mortgage next month? Like, am I going to have to choose like which insurance we decide to go with? Like, which groceries we're not going to buy? Like, I don't want to be in charge. Like, the child doesn't want to be in charge. They want the adults to have to be in charge and to be making decisions and to be taking care of things. So again, to make sure that our inner child is truly thriving and happy, we can't let that inner child totally run the show. We've got to give that child boundaries, and we've got to give that child free time as well, right? Recess and class. Okay, now last but not least, let's get some loving words from Jesus. These cards, I love these cards. They're all verses that were Jesus's words from the Bible. Seek and ye shall find, right? When you seek out wisdom and a relationship with God, with the Christ, it will happen. It will open for you. But it takes persistence, and it takes desire, and it takes determination. But Jesus will be there for you. If you want to make your mind and your heart more Christ-like, events will start happening in your life to steer you in that direction. They may or may not be comfortable, and depending on how well you surf those events with grace or not with grace, but your life will start giving you opportunities to grow a greater sense of Christ consciousness within you, and to change your heart and to become more loving and compassionate and unconditional. If you ask, it will happen. Buyer beware, because once you're in, it's not a train you can stop. All right, because once you know, you cannot unknow. All right, well, that is all for tonight, you guys. I'm loving this energy. I think that we've got our work cut out for us, but we also have a lot of fun to enjoy too. So show yourself respect and show up for your dreams and your goals and make the changes, break the bad habits. I'm with you. I'm having a hard time giving myself the discipline that I need. But I'm also feeling excited about the small progress I have been making, and I'm letting that give me more momentum to keep the snowball growing. So, all right, that's all for tonight. I will see y'all tomorrow for our weekly romance oracle message. Until then, peace be with you. Ciao.